We got a great crowd here tonight, everybody. My name's Keith D'Amato, and on behalf of our chairman, Don Delaquilla, who was unable to be here this evening, he's asked me to open up the evening. So welcome and congratulations to the class of 22 Hall of Fame inductees. We got an exciting evening for you this evening, and first thing I'd like to do is just speak a few minutes about a project that the committee took on this past winter. Earlier in the year, we were given some very valuable space at Plainville High School to be able to move the Hall of Fame showcase to a very prominent area near the Wood Gym. So as part of the project, which we were very excited about, there was quite a bit of work that had to be taken to do this project. So I want to first thank the committee for their efforts. There was a tremendous amount of work. I also want to reach out to all of the corporations and individuals who stepped up in the community and helped fund the project for us. It was quite the undertaking. It was very expensive to do this. So I want to thank, if you're here, thank you very much. We do appreciate it. As you know, we're a nonprofit organization, so your donations are very valuable to us. So thank you again for that. You know, as part of that renovation, we had the opportunity to recognize our founder, Byron Treater III. It was a very bittersweet move to this new location. We lost Byron. Without Byron's leadership, we would never have been able to be here this evening in our 23rd year, inducting, I don't know, over 125, 130 inductees into the Hall of Fame. So thanks to Byron and his leadership, we're here this evening. Thank you. So if you get an opportunity to go to Plainville High School, please stop by and see the work that was done on this wall. It is, it's tremendous. It truly is. There was a lot of effort put into it, and it's well worth it to recognize the athletes of Plainville from the past and hopefully into the future. So at this time, Bill Pettit's going to MC the event this evening. So he's going to say a few words. After we're done with the invocation, we have a buffet set up behind the doors over there, and the facility will come to the tables and let you know when it's your turn to go up to the buffet. Thank you.
Thank you all and welcome. We're going to start the evening out on a little bit of a somber note. Everybody knows it's been a tough week in Connecticut, tough 10 days. So we're going to offer a moment of silence for officers DeMonte and Hamzy, killed in the line of action. Officer Irato, who subdued the assailant and was injured in the process. In addition, before all that all happened, we were going to recognize Ross Zettergren, a recent Plainville High School graduate who died tragically in the past week, and Michael Crenshaw from the 1999 state championship team that's being inducted today, in addition to a number of parents from the 1999 team. Loss is a part of life, but it's been a particularly long week, and we've had a lot of losses in the past week. So if everyone would just bow their heads for a moment of silence for this, thank you. Thank you so much. It's you know, for those officers that are out there that make things like this, us to go, you know, to go out and play sports, watch our kids, have a great time, have Hall of Fame events like this. So we really thank those who gave the ultimate sacrifice, and just want to remember those who we've lost, who've have contributed to this community in many ways over the years. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Vic Paradise for the invocation, and then we can head right into dinner.
It's an honor to be here tonight and just to be able to pray and ask God's blessing on the food and the time together. I feel very much a part of this. You all are my extended family. Each year it grows a little bit, and I am so thankful to be part of this. And I'm thankful for all the hard work that has been put into this Hall of Fame organization, and I just want to express that because there's been so many people that have given and worked so hard, and thank you all. It makes a difference, and I just want to say thank you. Let's pray. Father, I ask for your blessing upon this food and this time together. I ask, Father, it would be a wonderful time, and even though we have some sorrow and some sadness, that we can be here for one another and lift each other up. Bless the food, Lord. I pray especially, Lord, that people would travel safely home and we would have a great time. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
All right, thank you so much. A very nice meal. Thanks to Hawks Landing for that meal. We're going to start with our program. And I would want to reiterate what Keith talked to you early on, the new Byron Trito display of plaques in the high school is just fabulous. It's down the eastern end of the high school. If you're challenged by directions, it's where the new gym is and where the pool is, heading out to the football field. It's a fabulous display. It was well done, and thanks to many people, you see their names listed in the program for their contributions. In addition, I would like to take a second. You go to about your fourth page of your program. I'd like to have the people from the committee. Don Delaquila is our chairman. He's in New York and couldn't attend tonight, but most of the other committees here. If the other committee members could stand up, please. Committee members. It's a lot of work, and we probably have many more meetings than we need to because it's all men except for poor Lisa on the committee. So there's only one reasonably sensible person on the committee, and that's Lisa. So with the guys, we tend to drag out most of the things. So thank you, committee, for a lot of hard work, and especially here to my left, the infamous Mike Bakaiza, who's strong-armed all you people for 15 or 20 years for ads in the program. Thank you, Michael. Okay. All kidding aside, but Mike does a fabulous job. We're going to start with the Byron Trito Founders Award recipients. This is named in Byron's honor. And essentially it's a vote, it's a competitive vote, and it's not just for the best athlete, not just for the best student, not for the leader. It's a combination. So people have to participate in sports and be a leader in their sports, be a leader in the classroom in terms of civics and giving and kindness to others, and have reasonable academics. So it's a tough award and competitive every year. One of our award winners, Dan Szanski, who is at Princeton and probably had a more expensive meal than we had tonight down in the dining clubs in Jersey, but Dan couldn't be here tonight, but Dan is one of the winners. So Dan, congratulations. But we are honored on the front table here to have young Samantha Thompson. Please stand up so they can all see you. Samantha's here with her papa, and she's a three-sport athlete. She is currently a freshman at Siena studying psychology, going to play intramural sports. Siena, she told me, reminded me, is a Division I college, and she chose it for one of those reasons and also for the science program there. And she embodied the things I talked about, being in the sports, being a leader, good academics, good civics. So Samantha's one of our other Byron Trito Founder Award recipients. So Samantha, congratulations. I didn't say anything to you, but you're certainly welcome to say a word or two if you want, but if you don't, that's okay. Looks like it's a Diet Coke, so we're safe, okay. There's no beer at Sienna, is there? No, okay. Okay, thank you. We've changed from the distant past. We've given out proclamations to all the award winners, state of Connecticut citations entered in by Henry Martin, who's the senator for Plainville, and myself, the state rep from Plainville, that the award winners have gotten to honor them for the things that they did in high school and beyond to get themselves selected into the committee. We made those presentations early on, so congratulations to people for those citations. Now we're going to start with, I think, one of our most important awards, the John E. Tofflon Distinguished Service Award. And again, as you flip into your program, you can see the previous award winners. I think we have some previous award winners here. I know that we have, so I'm looking down the list, we have Byron's family here, Bobby O'Day is here, Mike Bakai's is here, Tom Arcari's here, and Matt Straub. And so this is an important award for people who make big contributions to athletics and sports and the well-being of the town. And this year's award winner is John McDonald. John, as you can see, he's got an extensive write-up in the program, started in the Park and Recs program when he was 16, and also not just service, as you see it in the program, captain the 1964 indoor track and field state title winners, served as captain for outdoor track and cross-country teams during his senior year in '64. He played basketball, and but after he did that, he really got into coaching at the elementary level and then beyond. And finally, later in his career, as you see, became a referee. 16 CIAC boys basketball state championship games, 2 football state finals, 7 NCAA basketball tournaments. And I know a lot of you folks have been to a lot of Division I games and have said a lot of unkind things to referees, refereeing those games, myself included. This is the first time I've had to introduce someone who's actually probably called technical fouls on me many, many years ago. Probably was Norton Park and beyond. I know, but you weren't reffing in high school when I got there. Praise the Lord. Thank you. I did. I got a few at Norton Park. I was on Broad Street and they were up by Hollyberry, so it wasn't a long distance for us to get there. But you know, I still said things I shouldn't have. I'm sorry, John. I'm sorry. But John served as a referee for many years, and now as a consultant evaluating officials and the like. Just a fabulous career. He's retired to Arizona, where he plays golf, and perhaps the person who should get as much credit as John is Susan, because I don't know what she did all those years at all these games. I know Mrs. Riera, when Pat was our basketball coach, Mrs. Riera used to knit in the stands, so I know coaches' wives who would knit in the stands because they couldn't stand to watch the game. So, especially when he was reffing NCAA games, I guess you just turned the sound down. You didn't really want to hear what people were saying about your husband. So kudos to you. 52 years of marriage. Congratulations. So John, come on up. We'd like to award you the Distinguished Service Award.
Thank you, Dr. Bill. He didn't mention that I hit his father with a technical foul that same day. Thanks to the committee. This is awesome. To Mike Bakasa and Matt Straub and Don Delaquilla, who dealt with me, I can't thank them enough. I'd like to thank my family and friends that are at the table, my wife Sue, my sister Margaret, Bob, my brother Tim and Kathy, Alyssa, and our good friend Joyce. Congratulations to Eric, Nick, Paul, especially to Tanya and Amanda. I was teaching 50 years ago when Title IX was in vogue. And Tanya and Amanda reaped the benefits of people smarter than us when I was first teaching that realized the girls needed every advantage that the boys did. I was thinking, if we were having this event 51 years ago, only the 3 boys would be involved in the awards. So to Tanya and Amanda, congratulations. And also, to the 99 baseball team. I went to all those state finals, great teams. First person I saw in here tonight at the 4:45 was Nick Masalero. We had a great talk, so congratulations to them. 1946, I had the privilege of having Dick and Vivian McDonald as my parents. 2 people, without going into great detail, were the greatest people ever. And not in chronological order, but in 1968, on August 28th, Susan Kalnick walked into my gym, first-year teacher, first year the top line was open. I was putting together a vaulting box, gymnastic vaulting box, and she said, "Boy, that'd make a good bar." I said, "This might be worth pursuing." Anyway, she's my life partner and a rock, and a good thing she takes care of the money. The third thing, most important part of my life, was in 1948. My grandmother, who we were living with in New Britain, she saw my dad give me a spanking, and she said, "You will never spank that boy again in this house." My father said, "That's fine, we're out of here." All right? Which meant that he started looking for a house and found 146 Stillwell Drive, the project. All right? And it's sad that in today's society the term project has a bad connotation, but that was a great place to live. Stillwell Drive, Wayne Drive, Pershing Drive, Hale Court. All right? I'll expand it. I could expand it to Diamond Avenue, where Mike Moore lived, to Broad Street, where Rusty lived, okay, to Newton Avenue, where Larry Amara lived. But that area was a great, great place to grow up. Plainville's tiny. I don't know if you're aware. It's 3 by 4, 12 square miles, second smallest town in the state of Connecticut. Okay, but Plainville's not a place. Okay, Plainville's an area where we got phenomenal people. Okay, and this is an example of it. Just a few. When Miss Koss brought our 3rd grade class down to the all-purpose room, we didn't know what we were getting into, but it was something called physical education, and that would change my life forever. Frank Roach, Sergeant Frank Roach, from the police department, where we played every day in the back. Frank Roach would bring out equipment. He would organize us. That's Sergeant Frank Roach, who would later become Chief Frank Roach. Jack Murphy, who had a part-time job as recreation director. Part-time pay, full-time job. Tony Frisella taught me how to play ping pong, which I was able to win a championship a few years later. Harry Walsh taught me how to play chess, who I was able to win the 8th grade chess championship, if you can believe it. Charlie Venturi, first president of Plainville Little League. Rusty Stillwell, coach of the Seals when we had 4 teams. Al Bitch Santucci, first coach of midget football. Tom Ferguson, first coach of Pony League football. Mary Higgins, homeroom 58, who would sit, correct papers in the bleachers while Mike Moore and I and the rest of the homeroom 58 could practice at the old junior high. Joe Dame, Coach Dame, who would give me a pass out of all my 8th grade study halls to come down and work with him with the classes. Awesome guy. Mickey and Honey Mastriani on Rockwell Avenue. When you couldn't talk to your teachers or your parents, you could go over to Mickey and Honey's house they could give us their shoulder and their ear. The legend, Ivan Wood. Bernice Pryor, English teacher, who used to say, "Get your signal, noun coming." And I remember that to this day. And when I write something I write out, and I need either S apostrophe or apostrophe S, I think of Mrs. Pryor. Pat Riera, it's got to be top 5 basketball coaches in the state history. And we had great teams with Earl Jackson, Billy Lasher, Rusty Camp, and Mike Moore in that time period that Pat Riera was there. More importantly to me was Fred Kalbach, who convinced me in my senior year it would be better not to sit on the bench in basketball and devote that extra time to track. And that was a culmination of, as Billy said, 7 state championships. So Mr. Kalbach was a great person, a great coach. George Gaudette, extraordinaire guidance counselor, who convinced me that the best place for me to go would be Southern Connecticut. He was absolutely right, graduated in 4 years, applied for 1 job in my life, got it, had the experience of being interviewed, I gotta laugh at that word, interviewed by Tony Pupolo, Superintendent Pupolo. It was more like, sit down, John, tell me how your family's doing. So I applied for 1 job, got it, and it was in a community that all of you people are familiar with. Had the awesome job of working for Ed Conlon, Steve Howes, and Paul Cavalieri. During my first year, Father Tom Flower came down and said, John, I need some help from you. Would you come and referee a basketball game at OLM? I said, sure, Father, I'll go over. So I went over that afternoon, didn't know what the hell I was doing, but refereed a game, and I was walking out, and he put out a $5 bill, and he said, here, John. I said, no, that's okay, Father, glad to help out. He said, no, take it. I said, no, that's okay. He said, no, take it, you gotta come back on Friday. Which was, again, a huge part of my life. Because Tony Bottolato, Mike Carroll, and Walter Majak, 3 names that many of you will remember, helped me immensely. I had the awesome, I was able to teach with 2 great women, Lynn Farley and Amy Tennant, over the 34 years that I taught, and I wanted to mention them. Got to Surprise, Arizona as a retired person 20 years ago, and after about a month I realized, holy mackerel, I need a doctor, a dentist, an auto mechanic, and a barber. And I had the same 4 people in Plainville, Connecticut, same 4 people for 35 years. You know, you got Rusty Camp, you got Doug Collins, you got Corky Hines, and you got Vinny Delaquila. That tells you a little bit about this community, all right, Plainville. We could even recruit great people. When you can recruit from other towns, Greg Ziogas, Phil Manarino, okay, Ron Jones, okay, and Bob Freeman. That says something. We recruited them, I don't mean we, but the town recruited them, and they stayed. An example of what a community like this is. You go ahead, I'll go with you. That's me. So I come back a couple times a year, and guys like Pete Palomino and John Zadnik and Bob O'Day give me a call, and we meet for breakfast at Saints Restaurant, another great place, even though it's just across the line. But that's an example of what this town is like. 2 more things. Gotta put in a plug for the 2 best athletes that ever went to Plainville High School, Earl Jackson and John Gasick. So that'll start a little discussion amongst everybody at their table, okay? John Gasick, Earl Jackson, 2 best athletes ever. And lastly, as a student in the year 69, 70, I had a guy named Byron Trito. So he was in an 8th grade class of mine, and without him, this type of affair would not be happening. And I want to pay tribute to Byron tonight, and I thank the entire committee, and thank you. By the way, there's probably 200 people here. If the Cavalieros didn't show up, there only be about 100. But anyway. But I wanted to thank Byron. He's up there someplace enjoying tonight's festivities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. And Nutmeg TV, that was a pretty short review of the history of Plainville over the past 50 years, so fabulously done. Joe Dame always asks me that question. I remember sophomore year in basketball after we've been running sprints for about 10 minutes, and he looks at me and goes, Pettit, are you tired? Do you want to run more? And I'm thinking, if I say yes, I got to run more, and if I say no, I got to run more. There's no answer, so we ran more. So I delayed long enough that we ran more, either way. So next. We're going to one of those young ladies that John mentioned. Our next recipient is Tanya Gill. Tanya is a 1990 graduate, and as your program notes, dominated in the pool for the Blue Devils. 4-year varsity letter winner, was a member of the Class S State Championship 400-yard freestyle relay, set a new Class S State Championship record. Just a fabulous athlete, and wonderful to have her here this evening. Tanya, congratulations. And I didn't mention the most impressive thing, which is on her plaque, which will go in the new hallway. All-State 87, 88, 89, 90. Only a 4-time All-State. Most of us are happy if we got 3 letters. 4 All-States.
So thank you for this great honor tonight. I'd like to start off by thanking my family that's here recognizing me this evening, my parents, Ronald and Irene Gill, my husband, Tom O'Donnell, my sister, Claudine Kelly, who's also a graduate of Plainville High School, class of '86, and my grandmother, Zofia Popko. Thank you. And thank you to Plainville High School, my swim coach, the late George Chenier, school administrators and teachers who inspired me, providing me great inspiration both in the pool and out of the pool academically. Having started USA competitive swimming at the age of 6, the sport really ingrained 4 key values really early on for me in life that I've really carried through my adulthood and my professional life. That's discipline, focus, teamwork, and time management. I'm appreciative of the endless support from my parents throughout my many years of club swimming, their time, their financial investment, their endless emotional support. My parents also never missed a home high school swim meet, so thanks Mom and Dad for always being there to cheer me on through good and bad. And my mom also made her way to many of the away meets. So Mom, thanks for going above and beyond. While I chose not to swim in college and ended my competitive years of swimming following my senior year in high school, I'm gratified that my 2 daughters took to the sport of competitive swimming as well at a young age, and have really been gratified to see that the same 4 values that have been very important and impactful to my life have also been ingrained in them and have had a really positive impact on shaping the young women who they are today and helping to really pave their career, their path to success. So thank you to all involved this evening with coordinating the events and recognizing athletes from many different disciplines. Thank you.
Now that question off the mic, she's All-State 4 years in a row. I said, good and bad. I said, what was bad? She said she might have come in last once as a freshman. Maybe. Can't be a lot of bad with 4 All-States. Our next recipient is Eric Buckowitz. You got to quit paying people. Eric put together in his junior season 6 of Plainville's 13 wins, going 6-2, and recorded a .429 batting average. The next year, helped Plainville go to 17 wins, a spot in the Class M championship game. He allowed just 55 hits and pitched to a 1.23 ERA, striking out 121 and walking 15. In the postseason, after all this ended, capped his all-star season. I tried to impress his sons with this there. 2 innings at Fenway Park, striking out 4 people in 2 innings against the Massachusetts State All-Stars. I thought that probably was one of the coolest things. He continued at the University of Maryland at Baltimore County. And for these reasons that you see listed here, he's been elected into also. Eric, come on up and tell us about it.
Like this? Does that work?
Yeah, with that.
Sure.
Do it down, guys.
Perfect. I love it. Thank you so much.
You're up.
Oh, it's my turn.
Gotta get close with your-
I do, okay, perfect. Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for being here tonight. I want to thank the committee for this awesome honor. I have the 99 team back there that I was a part of. I didn't play too much in that team, but I did run a lot of laps at Norton Park with them, so that was always exciting. Born and raised in Plainville, went to Paderewski Park. That's where I learned how to play baseball. I got to follow my brother Brian, and if you don't know who my brother Brian is, he's the loudest person in the room. I love you, buddy. So after following my brother's footsteps and going forward, he went to middle school, then I followed him to middle school as well. As you say, I have no notes in front of me, so I'm just going to spin as fast as I can. I don't want to keep everybody here tonight anyway. During my time in middle school, I met Coach Bob Freemuth. I didn't understand when my brother was telling me about how, he's like, oh, he's a tough coach. I'm like, really? He's kind of a nice teacher, to be honest with you. He's not that bad in school. And when I got to high school, I realized exactly what he was talking about. And everyone can relate to it, whoever played baseball under Coach Freemuth. After high school, I went to the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. I got to play 4 years there. It was a great experience to go somewhere on my own. I always wanted to play baseball. It was my dream. Ever since I was 5 years old, I said, I want to be a Major League Baseball player, and if I'm going to do it, I want to do it on my own. Went to Maryland, had a great time, met a lot of people, and during my tenure, I was able to go to, I played Middletown, the NECBL, the New England Collegiate Baseball League, for 2 summers. And during that time, I met a guy named Ron Lucia, who was the general manager. He then became the general manager of the Kenai, Alaska Oilers, and he allowed me to play up at Alaska for a summer as well, my junior season of college. And I can remember, I got the letter, it was right before Christmas break. My coach at UMBC, John Jankashay, was kind of a quiet person, quiet guy. But I walked in his office right before Christmas break. I had the letter from Kenai Oilers saying, hey, you're coming to Kenai. So I walked in my coach's office, said, hey, coach, you got a minute? Yeah, Buck, I'm going on vacation. I said, okay. Well, I just want to let you know that I'm playing for the Kenai Oilers in Alaska this summer. Yeah, sure, Buck. I took that letter, placed it on his desk, and said, Coach, Merry Christmas. And I walked out the door. But then being in Alaska was great. Nobody knew who I was. Nobody knew where I was from. Nobody knew what Plainville, Connecticut was. A lot of guys over there were more of the Western leagues in California. A couple Florida State guys, they had no idea who I was. But then I was able to walk out of there bringing a 20-year-old record for most appearances in a season by that team. It was a good feeling. I thought I was on my way to being a Major League Baseball player. I really did. Went back to college at UMBC, finished up, and that was it. Didn't happen, and that's okay. I failed at not becoming a baseball player, but it led me to all my successes today. Today, I'm a 16-and-a-half-year veteran with the West Hartford Police Department. I'm not going to cry. Stop. I'm not. much. Thank you. Holding it back. No, thank you, Tony. I love you too, brother. While my tenure being at the police department, I was able to play with the Bristol Twilight team, the Bristol Merchants over at Muzzy Field, where I reconnected with Nikki Masalero. Yep, Nikki. Had a great time working with Bunty Ray, who Bristol Central coach. Didn't really know who he was until he called me and said, "Hey, Buck, you got anything going on this summer?" And I said, "No, not really." He goes, "Come play for Bristol. I'll have a jersey for you tomorrow. We're in Vernon." Okay. Showed up. Scotty Martin was the starting pitcher for our team that day. He threw 1 inning. Didn't look so good. Bunty looks and goes, "How do you feel, kid?" And I go, "I don't know." "Well, you want the ball next inning?" I said, "You're the coach. I'm just here to have a good time." Went out there, did my best, finished the rest of the game, and he goes, "Wow, where'd this kid come from?" So now, as I wrap this up, I know everyone doesn't want to hear me talk all night. My greatest joy as of this moment is being with the Southington Western Baseball League, right down the road. Hashtag. I get to coach my 2 boys, my 10-year-old son Logan, my 7-year-old son Lincoln. And to be a dad and go through all the experiences I had, from going to Alaska, playing in the Czech Republic for 2 weeks, for Team USA New England, college, all the experiences I had, everything I did, everything that I went through, there really is no better joy than coaching your own kids and watching them grow up. So Logan, Lincoln, I love you, and our little daughter who's on the way, she'll be here in February. Try my best. I do want to thank everyone else that was here tonight, okay? So my lovely wife Amanda, my sister-in-law Nicole, my brother Brian. What are you looking at? Yeah, you. My father-in-law, Scott Cudla, my mother-in-law, Arlene Cudla, my mom and dad. Mom and dad, you guys have been there every step of the way. Even when I was playing in Alaska at 3 a.m., you were still listening on that dial-up network of AOL, trying to listen to the games coming through in Alaska. You guys were still listening. But you guys have been there every step of the way, and you guys went to every single game when I was here. Every game. You guys didn't miss one, so I love you guys so much. My Uncle John, not Linda, my Aunt Darlene, and my cousin Connor. Right? Connor, do you have 2 beers I can slam together? No, I'm just no Steve Austin stuff. I'm not doing that. My Aunt Lori, my brother-in-law Michael and his wife Missy, my brother-in-law Scott, also Plainville graduates, Scott, Missy, Michael, and my Aunt Joy and Aunt Sam. Everybody, thank you so much for this. This has been an absolute honor. I didn't think this was going to happen, and I'm very thankful for everything. Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Great job, great job. Logan and Lincoln, you still listening? Okay, so listen, the most important thing he's doing is being your dad. Second most important is being a husband to your mama. Third most important is probably being a policeman. Baseball is a lot of fun, but it's a game, so he told you about the important things, so don't forget that. They said, wow, come to the Hall of Fame dinner and get lectured. But you guys can get back to the phones now. Get those videos going. Our next inductee is Amanda Pirlione Fontaine. I think Amanda was Paige Becker's before Paige was around for the Blue Devils, you know. Hitting the 3, driving, handling the ball, playing defense, rebounding. Just a few things named. Class M All-State twice. You know, basketball is tough, right? Five people. It's a tough gig. 1,356 points in her career. And I think perhaps more importantly, her coach Lisa Mandeville, who's a member of the committee in here, said, and I'll quote, "Amazing talent, could have scored many more points, gotten many more rebounds, but was selfless and very talented. deserved every recognition she got. She went on to play Division II at Bryant and finished at Eastern Connecticut. Amanda, congratulations. Ann was academic all-state. Just once?
Oh, no, it might have been twice. I don't remember.
Slacking off. Congratulations.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. First, I would like to thank the committee for this incredible honor. I never would have dreamed that this would happen. And I also would like to congratulate all the other inductees. And I hope this process has been as nostalgic for you as it's been for me, because I'm like, it's not even that long ago, but it seems like forever. I'm having a hard time remembering stuff. First, I would like to thank my parents, Laura and John Iaconello. You guys have been with me through everything and were always there to console me, motivate me, whatever I needed. And then let's not forget, like, when I was younger and all of your vacations were really just my AAU tournaments. You both have made a lifetime of sacrifices for me, which we all know you are still continuing to do. And I just want to thank you tonight. I would also like to thank my brother, Anthony Pierleone. Growing up, I always looked up to him. Literally, he's 6'8", so. And I always wanted to do everything he was doing. Actually, my first run-in with basketball was PAL League, and when my mom dropped me off, I actually snuck out a side door and ran away because I did not want to play basketball. No one knew where I was. It was this whole thing. But then a couple years later, my brother started playing because he was 6'6" in middle school and literally had no choice. And so, just like with everything else, he started playing basketball, so I started playing basketball. He was number 44, so I was number 44. We would spend hours in the driveway practicing post defense and post moves, watching basketball games, picking apart every single play, and at one point he even coached my AAU team. It was like a bunch of 14, 15-year-old girls, so I don't know how you did that, but thank you for being one of the best coaches I've ever had and for being the best brother that I could have ever asked for. To my high school coach, Lisa Mandeville. The best. I can't even put into words like the impact that you've had on me. She's one of those coaches that truly cares about her players in every aspect of their life. And at the same time, she's also a no-nonsense coach. So you would know, you would hear her stomping her feet in her high heels on the sideline, you would know you better get it together, because she was always present, even at the middle school level, the travel level, because she knew more than anyone that building a quality program required working with everyone at all levels together. I have played, actually, funny enough, I went to Bryant, which was Division II when I went, but my sophomore year they went Division I. And then I transferred to Eastern, which is Division III. So I've played at all three levels. And despite this, I'm still always thinking back to what Lisa did. My husband is a boys varsity basketball coach, and whenever he comes to me for insight or just to talk basketball, I'm always finding myself thinking, what would Lisa do in this situation? How did Lisa handle it? What did we do? What were some of the plays we had? How did she handle these situations? So I just want to thank you for not only making me the player that I was, definitely not anymore, and the woman that I am today. So thank you so much for that. And then, yeah, deserved. And then to Lou Mandeville, Jen Gombatz, and the late Steve Thompson, thank you for always being there, no matter what I needed. I always knew that I could come to each of you for different reasons, whether it was sarcasm and a laugh from Thompson, talking to Lou because I was a little afraid of Lisa at the moment, or to Jen for literally being the perfect role model for me. I looked up to you so much. So thank you to you guys. To all of my teammates, I wouldn't have been anything without the girls that I played with. I had the honor of playing with some really great players, but even better people. And they're single-handedly responsible for some of my favorite memories in my life. And lastly, I want to thank all of the teachers, staff, and students. I truly feel like during my time, it was amazing how much support the girls' basketball team had, which is not how it is pretty much anywhere, I feel like. But in Plainville, it was like, we felt like we were a girls' basketball town. So that was awesome. My husband, Matt, myself, and my 2 children just relocated to Plainville this summer from Rhode Island. And it's been really awesome just being able to show my kids all the things that mean so much to me and the places that mean so much to me. My years as a Blue Devil were truly some of the best years of my life. Basketball gave me great purpose, and it was part of my identity. It was who I was. I never played with the intention of garnering accolades or being a Hall of Famer. This is crazy. But it's extremely humbling to look back and remember the time in my life, how awesome it was, and how many people I had that were part of it with me. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Amanda. Next up is Paul Cugno. Paul's an 87 graduate. Seems that Paul gave more money to his friends than Eric did. Paul was a 2-sport athlete. You can see the respect he was held in those years. He was captain of both football and baseball. He was all-conference in football. He was all-state in baseball. He threw for 18 touchdowns in 2 years. 1 year, for some reason, no stats were kept, so we only have part of his statistics. He is now a pilot flying private planes. He played baseball for 3 years at the Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University in Daytona Beach and ended up his career as the captain for the ERAU Blue Eagles. So here from Kansas, I think you said, and I was a little bummed out. He flew commercial. I said, come on. No private citation up to the Hall of Fame dinner. Paul, come on up. Congratulations.
That's not bad for a private jet. I know you guys told me to keep it to 5 minutes. It's just not going to happen. Sorry. It's going to be a little longer than that. I'm going to do my best. I'd like to thank the committee for voting me in and granting me this honor. I'd also like to thank my friends and family who've come here tonight. Some have come from Florida and all over, and I really appreciate it. It's an honor to be included with all these inductees. I mean, Coach McDonald had him as a phys ed teacher in junior high. He was just one of the best guys you could ever know, and I always enjoyed being around him, and he was just a great coach. Tanya, I mean, 4-time All-State, that's just unbelievable. Eric, I know you were a stud pitcher, but they didn't talk about it, I don't think, but he hit 429. 429, that's phenomenal. Amanda, over 1,300 points. Like, how many years were you in high school? That's amazing. 1,300 points. I think, did they include practice in that? Nick, competitive bodybuilder. I said to my son, oh man, I gotta lose weight for this thing. We got a competitive bodybuilder here. My son's like, are you kidding me, dude? He goes, all the pizza you take me to when we go back to Connecticut and the bakeries you eat at, you'll be back up in the 2 days before the show. Mr. Arcari, I want to thank you for all the years of service of keeping the stats, even though you were 1 year late. I don't know where you are. I'm just kidding. I wanted to thank you for all you've done all these years. I know you kept the football stats for many, many years, and I appreciate that. I'd like to recognize some folks that are no longer with us that can't be here tonight. Either they've passed or they're just not able to be here due to illness. My first football coach, before Coach Zalaski, was Coach Bobby Pierce, the gentle giant, and I just wanted to recognize him tonight. Yeah, he was a great guy. Ed Coolig, John O'Hanlon, Carol and Don Johnson, Mr. C, Charlie Corliss. I don't know how many of you remember Mr. C, but yeah, he was a great guy. I used to go sit in his laundry room before the games, always before the games, and sit and talk to him for a little while. I'd get there early, and he was just, he'd had stories, old football stories, and it was great. One guy who definitely would be here tonight, because he came every year to this thing, Michael D'Angelo, we lost recently, so I wanted to recognize Mike. A fellow we lost a long time ago, Rocky Riola. I don't know if anybody remembers Rocky, but he was so motivating. He, when we were young kids, Gary was the second baseman, I was the first baseman, and you know, from one time we were little till we graduated high school, we stood next to each other, and his dad used to fire us up all the time, you know, and he would tell us, you know, when you get to high school, you're going to play for Ron Jones, it's going to be amazing, and he would just get us so fired up, and miss him. Vin Clements, he played for the New York Giants, and he was the best offensive coordinator you could have ever asked for. He was just great, and I wish he could have been here. Finally, my father, he taught me how to throw a football. I mean, he really worked with me. He taught me how to lead receivers, and we really worked on that. I learned to throw a ball from him, but more importantly, he was a Giants fan, so I learned a lot of swear words from him. And when I was younger, I didn't really know exactly what he meant, but I knew one thing I was not going to do when I played football when I got older, and that was fumble on the goal line. I knew that was bad. I want to take a few minutes to just explain how fortunate and grateful I felt how a kid born in Topeka, Kansas, landed in Plainville, Connecticut, but it was the most fortunate thing that could have happened to me. I just want to talk a little bit about the town and a few things that happened to me while I was here. It's just the town of Plainville was just the best thing that ever could have happened to me. First 8 years of my life, I was very fortunate. I lived in New Britain on Belden Street. We were mentioning streets in New Britain, so I had to mention my street. But I lived on a two-family home on the first floor of my great-grandparents. They were from Sicily, and it was the best. I lived with them for 8 years, and my great-grandfather, I'm going somewhere with this, I promise. This is leading up to Plainville and how great Plainville was for me. My great-grandfather, he had a nickname for me. He used to call me Ratido. I didn't know what it meant, and he always called me that. And one day I was flying. One of my passengers, I noticed he kind of had a Sicilian name, so I asked him where he was from, and he was from Palermo. And I said, you know, this is 30-something years later, and I said to him, what does Ratido mean? I thought it was going to be, you know, my grandson or good child or something like that. And it meant the coming storm, the storm. That kind of describes, for those of you who know me when I was younger, you know, we didn't have words for ADD and impulse control and things like that. There were no words for that. Oh, man. We have a saying, you know, when you have impulse control. In New Britain, I went to Chamberlain Elementary School, and they practiced corporal punishment. No joke. And, you know, to have those things and have corporal punishment, we have a saying for that in Kansas, no bueno. No bueno. My father played My father played a parent-teacher softball game in New Britain, and that principal, he hit a home run. It was it was a long, deep home run. And I ran over to my dad, and I said, "Dad, do you see how far that ball went?" And he goes, "Yeah, it should have. This guy played for the Pittsburgh Pirates. He was a semi-pro baseball player for the Pittsburgh Pirates." I was like, "Oh my goodness." And I thought about a couple of paddlings that I got. And, I know what you're thinking. That probably fixed them. No, it didn't. That next paddle walk was the longest walk of my life, knowing that guy played for the Pirates. Oh, man. But I just want to drop some dates on you. December 1977, my mother finds a house in Plainville. And we moved from New Britain up on Maxine Road in Plainville. And I have a lot to thank you for, Mom. All your days working at Giselle's down there. 8 hours on your feet, only to come home and have a couple more ladies waiting for you to do their hair, working so hard. I appreciate it. But the biggest gift you gave me is finding that house in Plainville and moving here. And I just want to tell you some of the reasons why. It's my first day at Tofflawn School. December 1977. This is going way over 5 minutes, sorry. It was my first day at Tofflawn School, and the principal showed me around. And, at the last school, this guy, the paddle he had, man, it had like holes drilled into it, quarter-size holes drilled into it. And I got to the principal, he took me around, and he said, "Mrs. Burke is going to be coming down. She's going to be your new teacher." And, he showed me around a couple of things, and he said, as Mr. Majapino said, "Do you have any questions?" And I said, "Did you ever play semi-pro baseball?" And he said, "No," and he thought that was strange. And I said, "Where's your paddle?" And he said, "We don't do that here in Plainville." I knew right away this was the place for me. I have another date. We only lived in Plainville for say, a month. And February 5th, 6th, 1978, one of the biggest snowstorms, blizzards, Connecticut has ever experienced. I remember the drifts were up the gutters. But my mother and father, they told me, "Hey, get your sled out. They're shutting down Maxine Road. Everybody's going to we're going to be sledding down Maxine Road." And I can remember thinking, this is the greatest place in the world. I go, they're shutting the road down. Soon after that, spring, I was driving. I got to go to my first baseball practice, Trumbull Park. I'd never been there, and we drove through, and man, we went back, and back then there was all woods around it. And that, for a young 8-year-old kid, that was just the greatest thing. I'm like, I can't believe I get to play here for the next 4 years. It was awesome. I met my first baseball coach, Jerry Joseph. He was a wonderful man. He was a great coach, and he was the coach of the SEALs, and I loved telling people I was a SEAL. They look at me and they're like, "There's no way that dude was a SEAL." I remember my second year, Jerry introduced his brother. He said, "This is my brother. He's going to be helping us. And you need to listen to him because he played semi-pro baseball." And I was like, I stayed away from him. I wanted nothing to do with it. As a kid, I was terrified of the dentist. And my mother brought me here, took me to Dr. Camp. I got out. She was worried. She looked at me. She said, "How'd that go?" I was like, "It was great. He talked about sports the whole time. And it didn't hurt me or anything." And so a couple of years later, I went in and I told Dr. Camp, I said, "Hey, I got a new set of clubs." And he said, "Do you hit lefty?" And I said, yeah, I hit lefty. And he's like, "Okay, well, listen, I'm going to tell you something. If you get a chance, learn how to play right-handed because golf courses are designed for right-handed golfers." And I said, okay. So I took my dad, I went to the driving range, and I took my father's driver and put it in my bag and went to the driving range. And let me tell you, this is a public service announcement. If you ever break your father's driver trying to hit right-handed, don't put masking tape on it and put it back into his golf bag. It won't end good for you. Here's another date, April 11th, 2004. A professional golfer by the name of Lefty otherwise known as Lefty. Phil Mickelson won the major for the first time. Who's the first person I thought of? Dr. Camp. That's right. And my father for the chewing I got. Okay, I'm going to speed this up, sorry. Another thing about Plainville that was great, I found out we had an airport. And I was like, our town, we have our own airport? This little town? Absolutely. And my buddy Mike Moore, he's here from Florida tonight. We both ended up at Embry-Riddle, and we graduated from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. I was able to combine baseball with aviation, and we used to go down to the airport. I took a few flying lessons and was hooked, and this town provided me with a lot of things, but it definitely provided me with a vision for my future in the airport. I'm very grateful for the gentleman at the airport and what it gave to me. I just want to drop one last date on you here. Probably the best gift this town's ever offered me, May 31st, 1985. I was at my grandfather's retirement party over on the Berlin Turnpike, and I went to my grandfather and I said, Gramps, if it's okay, I need to leave early. I'm meeting a girl tonight, and I really need to leave. And he's like, no problem, go ahead. And well, she's here with me tonight, and next week we'll have been married 30 years. And my kids are here as well. All right, I'm going to finish up, just talk about my coaches. What can you say? I had the best coaches. I was one of the few players, Lou Manderville and I both were one of the few players that had the fortune to play both for Ron Jones and Bob Freemuth. And Coach Jones, as a freshman, Coach was terrifying. And I just want to thank you, Coach, for letting me be a part of your, as a freshman, letting me be a part of your '84 championship team. It was one of the best experiences of my life, and I just want to thank you for that. Coach Freemuth, man, I'll tell you what, I know I'm running on. I'm sorry. I got to tell you about the first time I met Coach Freemuth. We didn't, our 7th grade year, we didn't have a team. 8th grade year, we had a team in junior high. And our coach was the band teacher, and he was really just there to make sure we didn't kill ourselves. And it was rough. Practices were rough. Everything was rough. And then one day he was sick, and this guy, the English teacher, who I didn't have, didn't really know, we were told he's going to fill in, and he was going to coach. And man, he came out there. His hair was on fire. He was just an animal. He was coaching. He was hitting grounders, and he was yelling at us. And man, I loved it. I turned to Gary and I said, Gary, who is this guy? He says, that's Coach Freemuth. He's the English teacher. And I was like, oh, all right. Well, I went into the principal's office the next day, vice principal's, and I had a chat with him. It was weird because I went in there and I wasn't in trouble. I was going in to have a normal conversation. So I was like, this is all right. Anyways, I didn't come out the same way. I came out, I got a butt chewing because I went in there trying to find out if there's a way we could get Bob Freemuth to be our coach. But I got chewed out because I didn't appreciate the fact that we wouldn't have a team if it wasn't for the band teacher. And it was interesting. But Freem, I was like, this guy's great, he's awesome. So after that, it was after my freshman year, my good friend Gary, he called me and he says, hey, Paul, he said, I got some bad news. Coach Jones resigned. He's moving on to bigger and better things. And I said, oh, no, Gary, we got to get in the athletic director's office, maybe sneak in there. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, if that band teacher applied for this job, we're hosed. And he said, don't worry, my dad told me Freemuth's taking over. And I was just like, yes. And it was like that for the next 3 years. I always felt that way with Coach Freemuth. It was a great ride. He was the best coach you could ever ask for. And he just built a program that he off of what Coach Jones had done, and Coach Jones built that foundation. But what Coach Freemuth did for many, many years later was phenomenal. And finally, I'm going to end this. My football coach, Wayne Zalaski made it here. Thanks, Coach, for coming. Appreciate it. Coach for 18 years. Just like Coach Freemuth, they both started. They're a new coach, and I was starting varsity my sophomore year. So we were all new to each other, new to them. Our program was rough in the beginning, but the best part, Coach really taught us how to win. And we went from not winning one game my sophomore year to being a winning football team my senior year. And Coach made it a lot of fun. And he's much more than a coach. He was a mentor, and I'm forever grateful for all the things he's done for me. I got to tell one sports story, okay? So just something I was really proud of. At the very end, our senior year, we went to Middletown, and at the time, Middletown had just merged with Woodrow Wilson, and both teams kicked our tails for 3 years prior that I was here, and they were really good. And when they got together, they were, even better. They were together, I think, my junior year, and they just destroyed us. So they scheduled us, my senior year, as the homecoming team. And as a homecoming team, everybody schedules a team that they're sure they're going to beat. Their mascot wheeled out a blue devil before the game, and the PA announcer, and the blue devil was in a wheelbarrow, and he was dead. And even the PA announcer says, y'all know what happens when a blue dragon meets a blue devil. And I don't know why that stuck with me, but it just stuck with me. And that game, I said, I do know. I was here 3 years. We get killed by him. But that game, our team, we had improved quite a bit. And at the end of the game, they were getting ready to score. And it was 10-6. And they were getting ready to put the game away. It was 1st and goal. They ended up, our defense held them. Bobby Crillo, who's sitting here, we played midget football forever. They had 4 tries and they didn't get in. As a matter of fact, on the last try, Bobby jumped right over the top and knocked the guy back. And so we had 1 minute and 40 seconds to go 99 yards. And we ran a couple plays, got a little room for ourselves. And the clock was running down. We had a couple timeouts, and you know where this is going. But Tommy Brown ran about a 60-yard screen pass, and we had about 35 yards to go, but not much time on the clock. And Coach Clemens, our offensive coordinator, I called timeout because Hector Gonzalez was our receiver, and they were just blanketing me because he was our best receiver. And Coach Clemens ran out, and he said, "You call the timeout. What do you want to do?" And I was like, finally, I get some respect around this place. But I called a play to fake it and then throw back to I told this young kid, he was a freshman or sophomore, I can't remember, but he looked at me and I said, "We're going to throw back to Paul." And so I said, "Whatever you do, be in the back of the end zone at this specific spot because the ball's going to be there because I don't have much time. These guys are killing us." I said, "I'm going to have to let it rip." And that kid, I looked up, we snapped the ball, I ran to my left a little bit to try to fake that I was going to throw this way. And I looked up, and that kid was in the back of the end zone. And 2 seconds flat, and we threw it. He caught it, and of course, we slayed the dragon that day. But Paul came back to me. When I turned to throw that ball, I wasn't expecting him to be there yet. And he came back, and I said, "How did you get there that fast?" And he just said, he goes, "I don't know, dude." He goes, "I felt like I was flying, and I just didn't want to let you down." And it was the best. But I want to thank you guys, thank the committee again for having me tonight. Sorry I went so long. I appreciate it.
Paul, they like the story, so I'm out of a job. The committee's going to have you come back to be the MC next year. But if your mom could have had you 20 years earlier, you could have gone to Broad Street School, and a little Italian lady would have spanked you with a paddle with no holes in it at Broad Street School. So you missed that. You're born a little too late. All right. Now, He's only got 100 friends here. Our final individual is Nicholas Cavallero. Two-sport athlete in soccer and wrestling, two-time captain in both. And he's one of those guys when you're on a Hall of Fame committee, you go, thank you, God. An easy vote. An easy vote. Thank you, God. 124 career wins. 48-0 senior year. 33 pins. Wrestled only 2 full-length matches. Gave up 5 points the entire season. Won the state championship in his sophomore year at 112, his senior year at 125. Won the state open at 125 and 4th in the New Englands. Just an amazing, amazing career. So he's going to come up and tell us about it. Congratulations, Nicholas.
I'll try my best. Mic check, mic check. First, I want to thank the committee very much for the induction, such an amazing evening. This is such a tremendous honor to be inducted with such a prestigious class. Thank you and congratulations to my fellow inductees. I am honored to be included with such a distinguished group. The sport of wrestling is truly unique. It is such a demanding yet rewarding venture that those that participate in the sport forge an everlasting bond with what we call mental toughness. There is a quote by the famous podcaster Joe Rogan stating, and I quote, "Wrestlers develop a mental toughness and a level of mental calmness under extreme pressures that few human beings outside of wrestling will ever achieve or can ever fathom." End quote. At face value, what the public sees are 2 people standing in a giant circle. They're wearing spandex, they're probably a little greasy and sweaty. It's very odd to look at externally, unless you understand the sport itself. What goes on behind the scenes is much, much more, and I'll give you a very real taste of what this sport requires to be a champion. There is a necessary evil that every successful wrestler faces before they even step on the mat, and that is the scale. You are required to weigh in at the beginning of every match, which means that on a Monday, you begin the process of making weight for Wednesday's match. So you obviously have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then you continue with the match. Part of the requirement is cutting weight and an overall depletion of fluids and body fat that every person carries. When you begin your weight cut on a Monday, pretty much all food consumption and fluid intake comes to a screeching halt. Time starts to tick away very slowly as hunger sets in. Cognitive function begins to diminish as you're depleting your body of precious nutrients and fluids. Articulation or speech patterns begin to dull and words become difficult to find in everyday conversations, as all energy sources are depleted from the body. As you go to sleep, your tongue begins to stick to the roof of your mouth due to the fact that you're chronically dehydrated. It's at that moment, at the crux of self-doubt and determination, the thought sets in, do I really have what it takes to become a champion in this sport? While all this is going on behind the scenes, you're still showing up to class, doing your homework, going to a lunchroom full of kids who are eating pizza and having fun, taking tests, trying to maintain social relationships. The crew is laughing because this is just what wrestlers deal with. It's very abnormal, but it's something we all face. Wednesday finally comes, you make your weight class. You are now expected to perform at 100% capacity and win your match. Your team is relying on you to perform as a win goes towards your team's overall score and match. There are no excuses. It's you and your opponent, heads up, with everybody watching you and only you. And yes, you feel the pressure of the world on your shoulders. It does not matter that you've been suffering to beat the scale for multiple days, and you are physically as well as mentally at your weakest moment, you must perform. At the conclusion of Wednesday's match, you go home, eat some good food, rehydrate, and start the process all over again because you have an all-day tournament on Saturday. And your poor parents are there the entire day. 7 a.m. until 10 o'clock at night. If Wayne's were at 7, my dad would be smoking a cigarette at the time. He's since quit. I'll be there at 5:45. Dad, it doesn't start till 7. Why? That's They were always there. It's part of the sacrifice and for the love of the sport we complete this cycle for 3 to 4 months out of the year. I had the privilege of sharing the mat, training, and becoming lifelong friends with these unbelievable individuals who are my coaches and teammates that are here today. These friends have all shared the struggle and blood with me side by side in the pursuit of wrestling glory. Just as lifelong mental toughness was earned via the sport of wrestling, the friendships forged are just as strong. Whether it was learning technique with Paul Batista, embracing the grind with Vito Barbagallo, getting beaten up by Erin Soley, and don't let her fool you, she's an All-American in wrestling, don't mess with her, or being coached by Sean Kelly. These individuals have supported me and shown me the way to victory with their incredible leadership, work ethic, determination, and friendship. Thank you all very much. Coach Kelly actually retired at the conclusion of my sophomore year, yet he would still come to matches and practices until I graduated to ensure I was at peak performance. Thank you, Coach. We actually got him, when I was a sophomore, my brother was a senior, we got him a metal clipboard because he was so passionate, somehow his clipboard kept breaking. Just about every match. A very special thank you goes to my co-captain, who I've stayed very close with since high school and still see regularly along with his entire family, Corey Zapaka. Z-Man. If it was wrestling season, I was at Corey's parents' house on Tuesday and Friday, cutting weight with Corey, without fail. They had a hot tub to remove excess water and make the weight class. We'd go in the hot tub and suffer together. Thank you, Corey. Over time, I grew and remained very close with Corey and his entire family, who is also present here today. Martin Wozniak, Mr. and Mrs. Wozniak, Mr. and Mrs. Zapaka, and especially you, Corey. Thank you for always supporting me. When I think about the teams I've been on, the proverb, iron sharpens iron, really comes to mind. I was lucky enough to practice day in and day out with monsters in the wrestling room. Most days, the practice room was harder than the actual matches. This is also because I was working with the best wrestler ever in the history of Plainville High School. He's also my big brother. So, it was tough. Just amassed an overall record of 174 wins, which is still one of the highest in the state of Connecticut's history. I'm perfectly fine being number 2. A very special thank you goes to my entire family. You've been my biggest support system. I honestly have no idea how my parents did it, because just like Paul, I was an absolute monster. ADD, ADHD, you name it. My wife is actually a psychologist, and she has diagnosed me several times. She just look at me and be like, ADHD. That's my life. It was so since a kid. I was a little kid running in stores, pulling all the clothes off the rack with a mother screaming. That was me. So thank you very much, Mom and Dad. You've always supported me. My brother Jesse and sister Christina have always supported me throughout my entire life as well. They have never missed a competition or match of mine. I can't thank you both enough for always being there for me. I also want to thank my extended family, who is also here tonight. May Lee, Auntie Sue, Auntie Kathy, and Uncle John. Thank you very much. I want to give a special thank you to my beautiful wife, Rachel, who's always motivating me day in and day out to this day. Thankfully. Don't give up. Thank you for one of my best friends, Justin, who is also here supporting me today. Thank you very much, Justin. I want to express my deepest gratitude and appreciation to the selection committee for inducting me in the Plainville Sports Hall of Fame. This is a very special honor. Thank you very much from the bottom of my heart.
So 322 wins for the Cavallero boys. How does that rank for brothers nationwide? Do you know? 322. It's got to be pretty good. But I'm going to continue to wrestle in the 240 plus category with my remote on my couch. I know most of you are with me. Finally, the man who will always be known as the tough coach who prevented a band director from becoming a baseball coach. Coach Freemuth? Coach Freemuth's going to come up and talk about the 1999 team. Coach?
Thank you, Doc. Good evening, everyone. Come on up, gentlemen. Don't leave me hanging by myself up here. These guys got to be pretty lubed up by now. But lot of beards. A lot of beards.
Stop.
No one wanted to speak, so they left it up to me. I asked if anyone else to speak. They said no, not a word. But congratulations to all the inductees. Great job. Paulie Kugno, we go way back. I love you. Proud of you. Eric Buck, always took the ball. You make sure you take care of yourself out there. We love you. And if I whack that Powerball tonight, I got a ticket. Coogie's going to be my personal pilot, and Buck's going to be head of security. I'm on record right now. But the guys on this team had to deal with a lot of challenges to become one of Plainville's greatest baseball teams. I'm going to start with 1998. And most of 1999, in 98 and 99, we had to play all of our games at Norton Stadium. It wasn't allowed to refer to it as Norton Park. The Plainville baseball team always turned a negative into a positive. So we played our games at Norton Stadium. And Norton Stadium proved to be a blessing and a curse for these guys. It was basically an open field. There was a short fence in left field. The field doesn't even exist anymore. It took me about 20 minutes to go over the ground rules with the umpires before the game. That's how crazy it was. But you know, we changed to high school. We'd get to Norton Stadium, and then we'd be back to the high school. And the equipment, all the equipment, the batting cages, the baseballs, the helmets, the nets, and all that other stuff was put in Nico Kudavisi's truck, which most of these guys learned to drive on. Half of them didn't have their license, but they were driving the equipment over to Norton Stadium. The field probably cost us a state championship in 1998 because we were eliminated in the second round of the state tournament by Waterford, who had a great coach, Jack O'Keefe, who scouted us well, and they pitched us very well. We had a lot of bombs. Most of these guys were on that team. We had a lot of long fly balls that were just outs, and because there was no fence. And it was very unlucky, but that was a great team, that 1998 team, and all these guys came back. So in 1998, we're going to take these guys, these characters here down to Cocoa Beach, Florida, and we're going to become a better baseball team and bond together. So we played 10 games in 6 days. The idea was to tire these guys out so they wouldn't be able to get in any trouble. That didn't happen. Didn't happen. I had my hands full with these guys down there, and a little test. First, the team was thrown out of a go-kart track because they decided to drive like champions and not stop until they ran out of gas. And order was finally restored, and Louis threw his sneakers at him. and none of them would get in the front seat with him on the way back to the hotel. The next night, four of these Romeo Casanovas decide that they're going to miss bed check, which was at 11 o'clock, and they're going to go out clubbing. So, I'm waiting for them, and I lit a cigar, and I hid between the cars in the parking lot. And sure enough, here the four of them come about 12 o'clock. I said, boys, get in the van. We're going for a little midnight run. So we drove down to Cocoa Beach Stadium and did the ramp up and down, up and down. I don't know how many times, and I'm not going to mention anybody's name here tonight. You know who you are. And then there was the great sunglass caper. On the last day of the trip, we go to Ron John's surf shop so these guys can get some souvenirs. And one of them lifts a pair of sunglasses. He puts them in his pocket like this and thinks he's going to skate. So the manager grabs them, and I get called in. And I got to convince the manager that, hey, we got to get on an airplane back to Connecticut. You can't call the cops here and, detain him. So I finally convinced him, let him go, and I said, what, why'd you do it? I would have loaned you the money. He says, coach, you guys don't make that much, and plus I didn't want to break a 20. True story. True story. So we limped back to Connecticut with 5 guys suspended. And it was a hell of a trip. I don't know if we got better at baseball, but boy, oh boy. So despite all this, we win the Northwest Conference. That's how talented these guys were. So in 1999, we're back at Norton Stadium. And we won't going back to Florida, that's for sure. Not with this crew again. So the season didn't start well. Somehow, all of our baseballs disappeared. All of our baseballs disappeared. 20 dozen baseballs, 240 baseballs gone. Remember it, John? So that's the way it started. And then we lost 2 of our first 3 games. So we lacked discipline, obviously, especially when we were hitting. And we were chasing a lot of pitches up in the zone, getting ourselves out by being undisciplined hitters. So the key to an effective batting practice is to get guys like Lou and Edger who could throw strikes consistently. Every pitch was a strike. Lou, what's your record? How many balls?
None.
Zero balls, and all swings, right?
All swings.
The goal is to get done with batting practice in 45 minutes, correct?
Plus.
Yeah, plus. So these guys were whacking at everything during the games. They thought every pitch was a strike, chasing these high pitches. So we wanted to teach the kids to lay off this high pitch and be disciplined in the strike zone. So every few pitches, I told Edgy and Louie to put one upstairs and see if they swing. And sure as hell, they swung. And they swung, and they swung. So when they swung, the entire team had to do what we called the poop loop. That was the poop loop was poop for, not good. And loop was a run all the way around Norton Stadium. If you remember Norton Stadium, Norton Park, they would drop their gloves where they were positioned. The catcher would have to leave his shin guards on. And he says he still has scars on the back of his legs from running all this way with these shin guards on. And they would run past the softball field. Coach Manning remembers this. He used to laugh like crazy. Past the softball field, around the basketball court, up the road, past the swimming pool, around the other softball field, and touch home plate at Norton Stadium, and then get back to their positions. And did you do this a lot?
Yes, a good amount.
Yeah, they did this a good amount. And boy, they got better. So after many of these runs, and a lot of swearing, I'm sure, on their part, at me and at each other, they became pretty disciplined. They started to get it. And they started to get on each other a little bit. Hey, don't swing at the high pitch. Come on, be better than that. So we went on a roll, and we won 19 of our last 20 games. And it ended with Nicky's no-hitter in the state finals at Yale. So, I want to just single out quickly, these guys were great. I have great memories. Nico's truck, like I said before, everybody learned how to drive with it. We probably had the all-time greatest manager in the history of Plainville High School. The greatest foul ball chaser ever. We rarely lost the ball. One day, however, he did have a bad day. And many of the baseballs weren't coming back from being fouled off, and we were down a lot of baseballs. So I told him to, Matt, you need to take a nap. And Matt, where did you take this nap?
Next to a tree.
Under a tree in Norton Park, and he slept for the entire practice. But Matthew, welcome to the Hall of Fame. We're glad to have you. TJ's catch in Ansonia, remarkable. Byron's win in the semifinal game. Nico gets the hit to put us in the finals. Brian Sparks, who's not here tonight, he's in California, but with a name like Sparks, you gotta be tough, Brett Fedorowicz struck out twice the entire season. Phil Rothkugel was an unbelievable hitter. Nicky Maz, overall excellence, no hitter in the finals. Come on, man, who does that? No hitter in the finals. Has it ever been done before? I don't know. I don't think so. Yeah, we're going to say no. Yeah, we'll say no. Good luck. But, Eric Crane and Timmy DeJohn and Tony Anderson, great role players, helped us out. J. Max catch to end it, diving into the dirt at EL are vivid memories in my mind. And, of course, Dr. Keith Moranti was a rock behind the plate. And, and for running all those poop loops with his shin guards on. So, every so often now, after 30 years plus of coaching baseball and a few bad golf swings, I've got to go down and see Dr. Moranti in Madison, because, I got a bad neck and sometimes my back bothers me and my shoulder screws up. And I go down to see Dr. Keith Moranti at Coastal Chiropractic in Madison, Connecticut. And the area code is 203-245-8217.
Write that down.
And he gets me on the table and I go snap, crackle, pop, But he does a hell of a job. At my first visit, he took x-rays, and we had a great conversation, lots of laughs. And then he gets me on the table and he says, "You son of a bitch, I've been waiting 20 years to put you on your back for all those poop loops and you're gonna get it." But he's a great doctor and I love him. That feels good. But I want to thank you, gentlemen, for all that you've done. Great players make coaches look good. That's an old saying. I didn't make it up, but it's so true. And I'm so proud of these guys and what they've become. And I love them all. And it's an honor to welcome them here to the Plainville Sports Hall of Fame. And you guys have a great night. Let me just introduce him here. No-hitter Nick Masalero. Byron Trio. Dr. Keith Moranti, Brett Fedorowicz, T.J. Susko, His mother calls him Thomas when she's mad at him. That's true. Coach Louis Mandeville. Nico Kudavides. Matthew Gingras. Anthony Anderson. Coach Frank Marcioni. Coach Brian Edge. Timothy Dijon of the Baltimore Orioles. Eric Bukowitz. And Eric Crane. It's hard to lose when you've got guys that have outstanding collegiate careers, or guys that play in college bowl games, or another guy who plays in two Super Bowls. It's pretty tough to lose with that crew. And these guys are great. Thanks, guys.
Yo, Nick, you gotta get in the front one. I do too a little. Yeah. Get in there. Get in. Get Matt right in the middle.
Maddie, on your knee, buddy.
Take a knee. Take a knee, Matt.
Can I get a word? Go ahead. Go ahead. Before you lose everybody. Last but not least. Hold on, team. All right. Fido. Brett. Last but not least. It's oftentimes we go through our childhood, through these developmental years. And last but not least, we do have to give recognition to these coaches. We do have to give recognition to these coaches. Without them, there would be no us. To Coach Freem, to Lou, to Edgy, and Frank. Although we mother after you guys like no other. We love you guys, and thank you so much for life lessons. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, coach and team. Keith, any other announcements? So thank you, everybody, for attending. We'll do this again next year. We'll try to avoid the Pumpkin Fest so you can do the Pumpkin Fest. So thank you, and come again. Good night.